Howdy folks, this is VileMike here, and with me is Katty Knight, who I one day hope does not pull a Spock and have me sent to an alien zoo, or retirement home.
I would never do that! Because phasers have a disintegration mode.
I'm gonna ignore that patricidal comment, so we can finish up with Menagerie Part 2, which starts with an effing long captain's log to recap the last episode. If this is how future recaps would have been done, I'm kinda glad this is the only original series two-parter.
After the recap, we get the title credits.
They are continuing with the court-martial of Spock, and despite the Commodore objecting to the transmissions of Talos being shown, Spock says they have no choice as the Keeper has taken over the TV. Wait, that means Scotty is no longer needed to work the remote. So this means that Scotty is frantically fixing the Enterprise so he can stop it or change course, right?
If he is, I have a funny feeling it won't work until the Enterprise ends up there because of plot. Wait, does that mean Spock is able to break the ship in such a way that Scotty can't even fix it?
You broke the ship. You broke the bloody ship.
Lame!
The transmission of Pike's trip to Talos continue when...
They have butt cracks on the back of their head!
Grow up!
Does that mean they have shit for brains?
They are dangerous, all-powerful aliens.
All-powerful butt-headed aliens?
Ugh.
The buttheads thought Pike in his little cage, using their telepathy, basically telling him what he's going to do before he does it. Wait a second! You do that to me! You're a butthead alien!
Excuse me?
Please don't groan me.
Behave for the rest of the episode, and we'll talk after.
On the ship, we join Dr. Boyce, Spock number 1, and Ensign Eager. Having a exposition conference, I guess these have always been a part of Starfleet?
They talk about how the aliens abducted Pike, using their mental powers to make people see or hear whatever the aliens want. And how do they fight something like that?
Ensign Eager suggests using the ship's power against the door. Power enough to destroy half a continent. Even I think that's overkill, but I like where this kid is coming from.
Apparently number 1 is even worse than you are, because she actually agrees to using the ship's power to open the door.
I like her. I kinda wish she was on Kirk's Enterprise. She would have busted Kirk's balls in the second episode.
Back on the planet, the Telosians talk about Pike and how they've been probing his memories. They decide to use one of those memories, but added the woman Vina, the survivor from the camp last episode, to make him try to protect her.
What the hell is that? Barbarian alien man thing? Looks like they just threw the costume department at the tallest guy they could find and said, look scary and grunt a lot.
I plan on looking like and acting like that the first time you bring a date home.
Pike and the Barbalian fight across the set and get up some stairs. Finally, the Barbalian gets the upper hand and throws Pike to the ground.
Pike is able to throw a sword into the Barbalian's back, and Vina comically keeps hitting the Barbalian ineffectually. It's just kind of funny to watch.
The Barbalian impaled itself on Pike's Pike. That sounded dirty. And Pike wins! So the illusion ends, he's back in his cell, this time with Vita. Lucky him?
Back at the court-martial, Spock explains that the Telosians want Pike back, and it looks like Pike is tired and needs to take a nap. So they take a commercial break.
After the commercials, the court-martial resumes, and so does the TV.
Pike talks with Vina, who says she can be anything he wants, but he won't have any of it. She even offers to please him.
While Kirk may have taken her up on that, Pike says that she can please him by answering questions about the aliens, but she won't.
We cut to the surface where number 1 is getting...
What is that?
A big-ass phaser.
I want one.
But as you can see, it doesn't even take down the door.
I don't care. It's a big-ass phaser. Just imagine how many coffees it could heat up.
Well, at least you plan on using it for good.
And imagine the amount of enemies I could vaporize.
Who has been teaching you to think like that?
Disney movies and musical theater.
What? How?
Anyway, everyone complains that the biggest phaser should have destroyed the whole top of the rock within a second. But Boyce tells her it may have, but the aliens are using their powers to make it look like it failed.
Inside, Pike keeps questioning Vina. She tells him that the Telosians can't actually control his mind, but can use illusions to trick him into doing what they want. But that also includes illusions that make him feel pain. She delves a bit into their history as well, that they used to live on the surface, but retreated underground due to war.
Pike figures out that once underground, the butt-headed aliens develop their powers, and Vita tells him that their powers are like a drug. They use them to relive experiences of others instead of having their own.
Their race is actually stagnated, to the point where the Telosians are unable to even work the machines developed by their ancestors. They use their powers to trick others to come to their planets and add to their little zoo.
Butt-headed in charge overhears Vita telling Pike all of this, and uses his powers to torture her and then makes her disappear.
Back at the court-martial, they discuss the Adam and Eve breeding animal pair zoo thing that the Telosians are trying to pull, but quickly go back to the TV, kind of like the modern day.
Pike is looking for a way out and sees a small door open to leave him a drink.
The keeper tells him to drink it, and if he tried starving himself, then he will be punished.
And the punishment is taking a soapy bath in your uniform with fire in the background?
Maybe he got soap in his eyes.
That is pretty painful.
Pike drinks the liquid, then rushes the window. The alien's surprised. Pike figures out that certain primitive thoughts might be able to block their telepathy. But the keeper keeps changing the subject back to Vina.
According to Butthead, a ship did crash, and Vina was an actual survivor. And they wanted to bring another of her species to mate with.
The keeper starts another illusion, but this time it's...
Oh my god, a horse!
Pike is not pleased with the illusion, which is supposed to be his home in the Mojave.
Mojave? Mo problems.
Even if it has his horse. And he takes his aggression out on Vina by asking her more questions.
She tries to keep in character, fearing more torture, but she eventually gives in and answers his questions.
Pike and Vina admit that they are attracted to each other, but Vina notes that as the captain, he could never really love her. The Telosians changed the illusion.
They changed it to... what? By the music, I'm guessing Agrabah.
Except this illusion has Vina, dressed like the daughter of the Jolly Green Giant and dancing like a belly dancer.
Good things from the garden, garden in the valley, valley of the Jolly Green Giant.
Is this supposed to be sexy?
Actually, before Princess Leia in the gold bikini, this was kind of the sexiest nerd thing in existence.
60s nerds were so deprived.
And we have a quick interlude with Kirk and company to remind people that they're in the story too, and then they cut to a commercial again.
Back in the green girl in a lizard bikini.
Back in the green girl?
Yes.
That's a whole different video. Inside the green girl.
I can't say things, we know this. Back to the green girl in a lizard bikini. This creepy smiling guy. And whoever this is. Pike looks like he is turned on, but seems to get mad about it and runs away. And Green Vina follows him back.
Back on the ship, number 1 is about to lead an away team. Her plan is to bypass the door they can't open by beaming right into the complex. However, when they try, the only ones that get beamed in are number 1 and the other female crewmen.
They beam right into Pike's cell. Vina's pissed that there are now 2 more women.
Pike wakes up from the illusion and grabs the woman's phaser, but the phaser and number 1's communicator are not working. Pike drops both phasers.
The butt-headed alien walks in, and Vina complains that there are more women. But the alien points out that now Pike has a selection. Smart, sexy, and young. Who knew that Star Trek almost started the harem genre?
When Pike focuses his hate to block the aliens from reading his mind, they do the soap in his eyes thing again to him. Later on, the Telosian keeper opens the feeding door to grab the phasers. But because Pike has been hiding his thoughts with hate, he grabs the Telosian and starts to choke him.
Why did the chief butthead alien need to enter at all?
Because plot?
Why does he turn into a creature that looks like an unholy combination of a orangutan and a bat?
Because the butt-headed alien is actually a furry?
Furry alien psychic buttheads. Sounds like something you would have watched as a kid.
The alien abandons the furry illusion and then threatens to destroy the Enterprise. Vina says that he can too, by making the crew see an illusion that makes them hit the wrong button or control.
Pike grabs the phasers, but they appear to do nothing. Then he threatens the butthead again. And they now see that the phaser actually did blast a hole in the wall. And the buttheads were just using illusions to make them think the phasers didn't work. I bet they did the same thing to that big-ass phaser!
Yeah, boys said the same thing. The TV stops working back at the court-martial, so the Commodore demands a verdict from Kirk and Pike. Pike votes yes for guilty, as does the Commodore, and then he turns to Kirk. Kirk also votes guilty. Cue another commercial break.
This channel is sponsored by SD GameSwap. If you're into nerd stuff, you might find something you like there. They have books, movies, video games, toys and collectibles, and they even do consignment. They are also on Facebook, so go buy something. Links in the description.
When we return, the Enterprise finally arrives at Talos, and Spock tells them to watch the TV again. Ha! I was right! The phaser blew at the top of the rock! Gimme, I want the big phaser!
Maybe when you graduate college.
Really?
Yes, if you graduate magna cum laude.
You finally found a way to get me to study.
The Talosian says that Pike and the women can have the surface world, but Pike says he will only stay if they send number 1 and the other girl back to the Enterprise.
Except number 1 comes up with her own plan. She sets the phaser to explode, which would kill her, Pike, and the other girl. They would rather die than live as slaves.
Even Vina says she will die with them. For the first time, the Talosian actually looks afraid. 2 other Talosians come to the surface and share with the Keeper what they have learned from scanning the Enterprise's computers.
Yeah, apparently humans are too violent to keep in their zoo. Who would have guessed? Pike and them are all free to go.
The Talosians say that without a servitor race, they will go extinct. Pike offers to set up trade to help them, but the Talosians fear that others would learn of their illusion power, so Pike sets off to leave. But Vina says she's going to stay because without the illusions, she kind of looks like...
Wow! From Green Slave Girl to Quasimodo.
Katty, that's mean. When her ship crashed and she was the only survivor, the Talosians have no way of undoing the damage to her body, as they had never seen a human body before.
Oh, so she's not Quasimodo.
That's right.
She's Humpty Dumpty, and the butt-headed aliens could not put her back together again.
So Vina chooses to stay, and Pike leaves.
When he gets to the bridge, he says, prepare for hyperdrive. First time warp and no hyperdrive? What the hell? Pike, make up your damn mind! What moves the ship?
With the transmissions of the cage over, Kirk turns back to the Commodore, and he vanishes.
What the hell?
Yep, the Talosian Keeper shows up on screen and telepathically tells Kirk that the Commodore was never actually on the Enterprise. The whole court-martial was just a ploy to prevent Kirk from trying to stop the ship. He also offers to Pike the chance to live with the Talosians, using their power of illusions so he can live a life free of the chair.
Then Uhura chimes in. Apparently, Commodore Mendez at Starbase 11 was receiving the same TV show as Kirk. And, conveniently, that means Spock is also now free from death. Sweet.
Pike is able to get across that he wants to go to Talos, and Kirk lets him go.
Kirk says Spock was acting emotionally, and Spock says that he was acting logically. I love Spock, but Vulcan logic is weird.
The episode ends with Pike and Vina both enjoying illusions of themselves back to normal. Alright, I have a few things I want to say about this episode. The illusions of the Talosians were portrayed very inconsistently. I mean, why would they have had to open the little food door in such a way that Pike could actually see it? They obviously were able to use their powers of illusions when he was blocking them, like when the Talosian was being choked or preventing him from seeing the hole in the window. Instead of opening the door, they should have just used their powers to make it look like the stuff appeared or disappeared, like they did with everything else. How about you?
Well, I wish some of the stuff from the cage had carried over to the rest of the series. First and foremost, number 1, she was a great character, and the conference scene after Pike being taken, she listens carefully to each person, and listening to their advice and taking into consideration before coming up with a decision. She doesn't lament over losing the captain. She does what she must to get her captain back. She is the one that comes up with the plan to overload the phaser, finally making the Talosian fearsome. In fact, she wasn't in the second pilot is such a huge missed opportunity. On smaller notes, I like the jackets that the away team used, and it even showed to be a little more prepared by taking a pack full of supplies. And the big-ass phaser, which they should have used more. Also, I like the fact that they wore safety goggles, because safety's safe, kids.
I do want to say I liked how Roddenberry used the Cage episode footage here. Instead of just wasting the never-aired pilot, he decided to actually use it by creating a framing device around a court-martial of Spock to tell that story. Smart, but ultimately pointless. If they really wanted Pike back, it would not have needed to be so stupidly complex. As we found out at the end of the episode, the Telosians' powers were able to extend all the way to Starbase 11. Why not just use them to trick someone to take Pike to the planet? It would have been so much easier than what they did here. And honestly, there was no reason this needed to be 2 episodes. I understand Roddenberry probably didn't want to waste anything from the cage, but a more concise editing of that episode and some better writing for the framing device could have told the story in just 1 regular episode. Instead, with 2 episodes, it felt like a lot of wasted time. Pike was an interesting character, but I don't think he could have led the show the way Kirk did. Jeffrey Hunter was probably a better serious actor than Shatner was at the time, but Shatner is able to convey a connection with the audience.
Dr. Boyce was just McCoy, but actually I think it would have been best if he was also carried over, with a more serious doctor in McCoy and a very, more someone that you could confide in and see yourself talking to a lot with Boyce.
One being the drinking buddy and confidant, while the other one is more of the medical expert?
Yeah.
I could see that. As the cage was the original pilot, I will forgive some of the early installment weirdness stuff. Like, the phasers actually being called lasers, the time warp hyperdrive thing could have easily been edited out, like I said before. And even some of early Spock's weirdness.
I wonder if there could have been more than just the power trio. Instead of being a power trio, it could have been more of a 5-man band. Kirk as the leader, number 1 as the Lancer, Spock as the smart guy, McCoy as the heart, and tweak Sulu's character a bit, and you could get a big guy. Or maybe even have like a 6th Ranger kind of thing with Boyce, with having him appear in a few episodes, but not be a main character.
I kind of agree. That formula seems to work better for the other Trek shows. I don't see why it couldn't have worked with the original series. Anything else to add?
Why is the chair so stupid?
Alright, with that, I'm going to head out, guys. Later all.
Bye-bye! And don't forget, like, comment, and subscribe!
Say that again because you have the damn Tic Tac in your mouth.